I'm your host James, and today we're going to do some STEM. Today's lesson is about C.A.D. What is C.A.D? C.A.D stands for Computer Aided Design and is used to make phones, furniture, medical equipment, and things like this. But that was made in Fusion 360. Today we're going to learn how to use a free software called Tinkercad. In this lesson, we're going to take what we learn and we're going to apply it to make a simple coffee mug as our first lesson for today. The first step is we're going to make an account. If you already have an account, go ahead and log in, and you can use this approval code here in your account settings to link your account to my account, so that way I can 3D print your designs and present them on the show here. Now let's get started with the lesson and head over to the computer. And we're now here on my computer, and we're going to open up, and we are starting with Tinkercad. So what we're going to do, this is our guide. We're going to move a box from this side by clicking it and dragging it, and we're going to drop it into our work plane here. We're going to get it to line up best we can, and once you let go, it's going to drop it, and when you do, it'll automatically select it and show you the properties window. We're going to go through these a different time, but for now, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. So once lesson's completed, go ahead and press continue, and we're going to move on to view it. So in View It here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning how to use the view cube up here in the top left corner, or different ways how to move the camera around the area. So what we're going to do, we're going to first click on this top corner here between top and front. We're going to click on this corner, and it's going to snap it so we can see the top, the front, and the right side of the object. This is the relative to you. So zooming is if you have a mouse, you can use the scroll wheel for zooming in and out, like this, zooming in and zooming back out. If you have a touchpad, you're gonna use your zoom gesture that you would use in normal apps to zoom in that way. So once we're done with that one, we're gonna press done. We're gonna move on to move it. So what we're gonna be doing in this part right here is we're gonna be moving each box to one of these corners. And you do that by clicking on the box and then dragging it over by moving the mouse, okay? You get it as close as you can, doesn't have to be perfect. You'll just click on it and drag it over. You can do it one of two ways. With this one, what I did is I clicked on it, wait till it's selected, and then I moved it. Or what you could do is just click and drag all in one motion, and it'll still grab it and move it. This can lead to issues later because you might move something you don't want to. So I think as a safe rule of thumb, click on it and move it first. Once you get more comfortable, then you can click and drag. Now we're going to move on to rotate it. Alright, in this one we're going to learn how to rotate them. Rotating is important to get certain shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to select one of these boxes by left clicking on it, and this is going to enable all these handles. What you're going to do is you're going to pick one of the rotations to match the box that is shown here. In this case, we're going to grab this one in the back and we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. Right about, there we go. With this one here, and again, rotate it 45 degrees. And this one here, you have to click on this one here, or what you're gonna have to do is move the camera so you can see this other handle, grab it, move it 45 degrees. So, that says that we did it there, but there is a quick trick I want to show you, which I've learned. So what you can do is when you go to rotate something, if you want to snap it quickly to, say, a 45-degree angle, it's going to undo these a little bit. Something you can do is you can click on it, hold shift, and then it'll snap it to very specific angles. Now we're going to move on to size it up. Now this one here, what we're going to be learning how to do is we're going to be learning how to change the box size, okay? These handles that we're going to be using here will apply to almost every other shape in the basic shapes, along with everything else that is included in here. I'm going to click on a shape, it's going to enable the shape handles for us, and we're going to use the black handles, not the white ones, the black ones here, to drag and move it to fit the shape. Same thing here, click and drag to move it, you can see through it, click and drag and move it. There we go. And this one here, this one's going to be a little bit different, you can go ahead and drag it, and you're going to have to use all four. Work on grouping them. Alright, this is probably one of the tools you're going to use the most while doing Tinkercad. If you want to be making characters or different designs or different objects, you're going to need to learn how to use this tool the most. So we're going to do two different things first, but they're both grouping. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the box first, we're going to hold down the shift key, and then we're going to click on the orange cylinder. Then it's going to tell us we have shapes 2 connected, and what we're going to do is we're going to press this button right here, or the hotkey is Control plus G. You got to press those at the same time. As long as you're going to click the button this time, I'm going to click it, and it groups them together, and now they are one solid object. So if I click on it and I go to move it, it's going to drag and move the whole thing because it is reading it as one whole object now. I'm going to undo those really quick. And again, click on, and now I'm going to do Control G. There we go. Now it turned orange this time because I clicked the cylinder first, then the box. So here's what we're going to do. On this one here, you notice this one's a little bit different, whereas when I went and used this one, it's a solid, and this one is also a solid. In this case, this is a solid. This one, the cylinder, is a hole. So watch what happens when I click and drag over them like that, and I press group. Suddenly, it makes a hole. So now I have a hole in my square. You're going to be using this a lot to cut out some very specific shapes, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later when we apply all of these techniques together. Now we're going to move on to aligning it. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to start by clicking and then shift click, left shift click on the other objects, and that will select all three of them together, similar to how when we group them. And though in this case, we're not grouping them. What we're going to do instead is we're going to be aligning them. So what we're going to do is we're going to press on the alignment tool, which is this button right here, align or L, and then these different planes pop up. Excuse me. So we can align it to the top plane here, we can align them to the middle, align them to the right side, right in the middle here. You're going to kind of experiment to kind of get which ones that you want, or we can have them aligned specifically to a certain object. So that's it. We are done with all of these different tutorials. That's all you need to know on how to use Tinkercad. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply everything that we've learned so far. So once you click on Tinkercad in the top left corner, it's going to bring you back to your project page. Some of these are projects that I've worked on myself. Others are ones from my students. And what we're going to be doing right now is we are going to be creating a brand new design. Okay? Now we're going to press on this button here, Create New Design. And what it's going to do is it's going to load up a new project for us. Now on the top left here, it's going to give us just a random name. I'm going to go ahead and just name this, I'm just going to name mine Video Lesson. And now we're in a blank area. As you can see here, we actually have a box and a cylinder that are both already holes. And we have solid box, solid cylinder. I encourage you to use objects you haven't used yet. So ones that in the tutorial that you did not use was everything that is not a box or a cylinder. So I want you to come in here and experiment. So in this case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a very basic coffee cup, okay? So for that, I'm going to use a cylinder. And as I go through, I will grab different shapes and we'll go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on it. And we never use these white handles, but these white handles will change multiple planes at once, whereas the black ones move one at a time. The white ones will move the whole two sides at the same time. So what I'm going to do is if I want to keep the symmetry, I'm going to hold shift, click on the corner, and then drag. And what it's going to do is, as you can see, it's going to move this and this side at the same time. So that way they're the same. So I'm going to make these 70. It's going to line it up there. Here's a helpful tip. If you want to see the numbers all the time, you can grab a ruler from the top left here, drag it, move it anywhere down here. I like putting mine in the corner, just so it's out of the way, and letting go, and I will be able to see the rulers at all times. So I will be able to see the dimensions of everything at the same time. For me, I'm a very technical person, so for me, this is really, really nice. Let's go ahead and find something to make our hole in the middle for our mug. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use a paraboloid, and I'm going to rotate it all the way across, and I'm going to make this size bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and try to line it up with the middle. As you can see, I can't really see it when it's in there. So I'm actually going to grab this top handle right here, which is actually going to move it up and down in space in the Z axis. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go to the top here, and I'm going to try to see if I center it. As you can see, I can't really center it that well, and I still want a little lip on the outside there. So I think that's what I'm going to use for now, and I'm actually going to grab this top one and move it. Here we go. And as you can see, it's coming through the bottom here, and I don't want that, so I'm going to move it up here. I'm actually going to move it up a bit to about 5, so it's a little bit thicker on the bottom. So I'm going to make it a hole. I'm going to select the two and group them together. And now we have our cup in here. This would be a cup that'd be used more for tea than coffee, just because of the shape. I mean, you could use an espresso for it, but that's okay. So, let's change the color. I'm gonna go and click on it. Now that it's changed, it's no longer a cylinder, it's now just called a shape. I'm gonna make the color, one of my favorite colors, blue. And what I'm going to do is we're gonna add a handle onto it. You can do this a couple different ways. You can create it yourself using different boxes and combining them together. You can use a cylinder, a bunch of them together. You can even scribble your own design and move it over. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a torus, okay? A torus is a donut, basically. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to make it a different color. I'm going to color code my stuff. I'm going to make this green. We're going to rotate it, whoops. I'm going to rotate it up 90 degrees. And I'm going to extend its height, and I'm going to make it wider coming out, just like that. So, as you can tell, I'm not going to be using the whole thing. And actually, let's make it a little bit thicker. There we go. That's about a box. I'm going to place the box about there. I actually want it to be lined up with it, so it's covering both sides. And I'll show you why. Now, this box is going to be really, really rough because we're not using the whole thing. So we're going to go ahead and extend it up, and so what we're going to do, we're going to make it a hole. And as you can see, this part of the donut is inside this box. So watch what happens when I combine the two together. When I combine them together, it'll cut that shape in half, making kind of like a macaroni noodle. So we're going to go ahead and move this. Let's make sure we're being precise about it. Grab it up here. Now, this is called a perspective view, so it looks like as if I was looking at it for real. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch views to orthographic view right here, which is a flat view. Here's what it does. Check this out. It switches to a flat view of how the computer sees it. So this lets me line up my objects precisely. So I'm going to get it right there. Now I'm going to click on them and group them together. And there we have our coffee cup, or teacup in this case. Now, if you want to add your own name onto it, this is how you do it. I'm going to go ahead and grab text. I'm going to bring it out here. And I can actually change the height. I can add bevels to it. I can change how many segments it goes into. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it about there. And about there. That works for me. I'm going to leave it as a multilingual. I'm going to change the text and put my name, James. So what I'm going to be doing is then I'm going to rotate it up about 90 degrees. And I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to move it to my cup, move it up a bit. And there we go. Now my name is on the cup. During that tutorial, make sure you rewind the video and watch it over again, or you can send me an email at jboyce@bgccontracosta.org, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can get to. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'm your host, James, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.